Salad or Dolly, threw a great party. We all drank Bacardi, it got kinda gnarly. We're light as a feather, we're tougher than leather. Together we're weirder together.
Hello and welcome to Weirder Together.
I'm Ben Lee.
I'm Ione Sky.
And I am in full PTSD mode doing a podcast episode at home with the cameras. It's taking me back to pre-Curious Media, my anxiety, my stress, the workload, my resentment. I mean, it's a great place to start being creative from, you know?
Yeah, very good. Very good. Yeah, it's been nice having a studio and we'll have it again.
Yeah, the studio's almost finished, so it's going to be
The new
really
studio is almost
back.
done, but we're at the house, but everything is great.
It is good. Everything is good.
I mean, I feel very cheery.
Yeah, no, I feel cheery
But
too.
also I'm not doing the tech.
I wrote a song, which I don't want to talk about too specifically, but that was I haven't written a song that like out of the muse speaking in a while. Do you know what I
Right.
mean? I've done some like collabs with people and stuff, but I haven't been like, I've got an idea, I'm going to write, and I did it. And it was like,
Yeah,
good to
why
tap back
were
into.
you were waiting for, you were sort of taking a different approach to writing your albums because you're so prolific and you're always in a cycle of the old-fashioned way the music business used to work or something where you do the album and then you, I don't know, something was different. What was
I think that's part of it, but I think it was more so that I've proven to myself that I can churn out records and churn out songs. Like there's a certain indie rock, punk rock sort of paradigm I grew up in with just like work ethic and just getting it done and delivering. And
Yeah.
like it was very important to me to prove I could do that. And then like 30 years, 20 albums in, I'm like, I think I've proven I can do that. So I'm just working with like a different sort of type of inspiration, I guess. Like I'm waiting until I feel really called. And it's fun to play with.
Yeah. No, I love
You're
that.
good at that with painting. You really wait until you feel genuine inspiration.
Yeah, but I'm now having a work ethic with my painting because when you're young, you're just like, you know, vomiting up, you know, your creativity. So as you get older, you have to kind of carve it out,
Yeah.
you know, take the muse on some dates. Is that cringy?
Yeah. Well, you take the muse on some dates, but there's also like, I also like the Tom Waits thing of a bit like treat the muse mean, keep it keen.
Yeah.
Like you got to kind of have negotiating power with the muse.
Yeah.
So the ability to walk away and not be sort of like, I guess like overly fawning.
Oh, fawning.
Right.
This
I know
is
that's
a
a
new
word,
buzzword.
pop psychology word that's working out.
Yeah, I'm approaching it. Shit, I forgot what I was gonna say about it. Oh yeah, kind of like working out. And kind of like not overthinking doing the painting. I'm not like, because if you think too much or feel too much, you'll freeze or I will freeze. So
Totally.
I'm kind of like just not thinking about it and going forward and working out, going forward, sitting down and painting because I know it's going to be good. But before I kind of like was waiting to convince myself of a certain feeling and then kind of do it, which is, you know, no bueno. Oh my God, I'm so cringy today.
Why? What's wrong with throwing in a little
I love
Spanish?
Spanish, but I mean, no bueno. I don't know if that's a cringy thing to say or not. Anyway, I'm overthinking cringe.
Goldie yesterday found herself
Don't get me wrong.
accidentally
Spanish is,
in the
hold
middle
on,
of
hold
an
on.
anti-immigration march. in
Okay,
Australia.
but let's rewind. I think Spanish is divine, beautiful, and I wish I spoke it fluently. I'm only making fun of white people who say
There's a gringo way of like peppering your talk.
Don't misunderstand me.
Like mi casa su casa. You feel like that would be a little cringy.
I like that.
I've said that before and you've
No,
rolled
I
your
like
eyes.
that.
Yeah.
No.
You do?
Mi casa es su casa is beautiful.
Yeah.
The no bueno thing is
No
it's
bueno.
actually kind of fun. Anyway, yes.
What about
speaking of
Hakuna Matata?
that's the Lion King.
Yeah.
That's nice. It's nice for people to learn even one phrase. When we were in Thailand, I spoke one thing like thank you or see you later. And then, of course, the sweet guy was like, do you speak? Let me teach you more. And I was like, no,
You were really good. You got straight on the TikToks and the reels learning basic phrases in Thai.
I don't want to
Like
be the ugly American who's just like not
That's true. You are battling an international reputation when you travel that you you wanted to be a good ambassador.
Exactly. I just want to show them like I will make an effort. And also like, I just like can't bear when people are so rude about other cultures when they learn English. And then anyway, you know what I'm saying? Speaking of all this, my daughter went with her grandma to see the Book of Mormon in Sydney, which is a terrific production because one of the producers comes and oversees it to make sure it's like the way they want it, which is nice. In any case, cute granddaughter date that they now see musical theater together. It's adorable. And but there was 3 protests and a what's it called?
A marathon.
A marathon.
Yeah, Sydney was disrupted.
Something I will
yesterday.
never run. Maybe I'll do a marathon. So they had to make their way through the city. And out of all the 4 obstructions, the one that they hit was probably the worst one, which was the anti-immigration.
Which Australia,
March.
I mean, I don't know. We have some international listeners that may not know this, but if there was ever a country built on immigration, not just immigration, like forced, it was colonized quite recently. This is truly, whatever the modern Australia is, it's a nation of immigrants. And the idea that certain people identify themselves that aren't Indigenous as true Australians or real Australians it's like, I mean, it's pretty laughable.
I know. And in America, I like that woman, I don't know her name, who's kind of like, don't eat Mexican food. Don't eat Chinese food. Don't eat Thai food. Like just go to whatever Cracker Barrel. I mean, I understand it's a misguided, people are feeling the pressure of inflation, a government not handling things properly. So, people aren't doing well, the disenfranchised.
Yeah, and international trends towards automation instead of like manual labor and all that.
Yes,
sort of
but
gig
I
work,
would then
all that,
not
yeah.
fight against a pawn or whatever the term is, like someone you think is taking a job from you, but focus on helping, I don't know, like the petition, the government having more socialized things or more businesses, like help kind of, I don't know, like help things for your children, for yourself to make more money or whatever you need instead of blaming people.
Sure, absolutely.
But that's just the way I think.
I think we feel similarly about this.
Yeah. And your mom was caught in that, and she spent a lot of her time helping immigrants learn the system, like part of her job.
My mum was involved in multicultural health, which was about like if you had like Polish immigrants coming over, how to help them access health services
And understand
stuff that
it.
if you show up and move into a Polish community and read local newspapers, and there was those services were seen as part of like the government should help provide that for you to bring, help people integrate and assimilate and take advantage of, health services.
Yeah, exactly. It gets confusing for people, very confusing. But the hateful vibes are not good.
Oh,
no
man.
bueno.
I really feel like some of these kind of protests, in general, protesting is so interesting because it's a PR move, basically. Like you're trying to demonstrate, take the voice of the people to the streets. And it can work for and against you. There are movements, like I actually think the March for Humanity, the pro-Palestine march across the Harbour Bridge, was actually a very positive PR move in that it demonstrated how many people that were not extreme lefties or anything like this, that were like just regular Australians, had these concerns. Whereas I feel like this anti-immigration rally, it actually just made normal Australians seem like Nazis, which is like very counterproductive to being taken seriously as a political voice. Interestingly, to talk about racism and the way it fits into culture, we just watched the new documentary Vice is Broke by Eddie Huang, who used to be worked with Vice. And it was a really interesting documentary about the sort of rise and fall of this hipster brand. If you lived in New York, when I did at the very end of the 90s, early 2000s, Vice was like a real grassroots cultural force. I remember going into record stores or clothing stores, you'd pick up the free copy of the magazine. It would be the Village Voice and Vice. And it was genuinely transgressive. It was not, I came from, it's almost like the indie rock culture I came from was very like respectful and gentle-hearted. You know what I mean? This was like nasty late 90s, early 2000s kind of gutter culture, trying to be offensive, troll culture. But it was exciting. Like you looked at it the way it was like, it was almost pornographic. Like you picked it up and you were like, felt like you were reading something you shouldn't be reading.
Right.
And that is where a lot of great sort of youth movements
been, there was a magazine in Paris that was like that. I don't remember the name, in the 70s, 60s. And then Mad Magazine, those people who did, was it Mad Magazine? No.
Well, no, Harvard Lampoon.
Oh,
the
yes.
people that,
Then Harvard Lampoon.
Yeah, that became the Simpsons.
Yeah. I thought you were into like certain, graphic novels that were sort of edgy.
I was, but the graphic novels were still like nerd culture.
Right.
Vice
was
culture
like
was
hip.
like, it was more kind of like the Dime Square thing now. I think they were trying to recapture that. It was like, people were fucking, they were doing drugs. They were
Right.
like, you know what I mean? It was like raunchy. It was raunchy culture. And but it also had this interesting kind of tone of playing with taboos and playing with things like misogyny and racism in ways that seemed like, at the time, almost like performance art. But it came out that, after Vice, Gavin McInnes, when he was kicked out, went on to found the Proud Boys. And it does make you look back with sort of a different lens and going, wow, this seemed like hipster trolling, but was it actually just racism and misogyny?
Yeah. Yeah. Because I think the French magazine or whatever that was political. And if they did something edgy, and even the Harvard Lampoon, I'm sure it was borderline, I don't know, problematic. But it was, I think the same with like South Park. I think that the intention is fairly good and on the right side of politics and helping people. But it is interesting, like groups. I was thinking about even Vincent Gallo, my friend, who's provocative.
Legendary troll.
Yeah, legend, and one of my besties for a long time. And there was a time where I thought, we were in a car with this girl, one of my best friends, and we're old enough. And anyway, even if you're not old enough, you should know better. And he was provoking her in a certain way that I thought, she's a little uncomfortable. But there's a fine line sometimes with all that kind of. And in the Vice, this documentary is quite interesting.
Yeah, and that the early days of that, it really made me think about bands like the Frogs, even performance artists like Andy Kaufman, people that deliberately push buttons in order to provoke conversation. And it's kind of fascinating. I remember talking to Kimya Dawson from the Multi Peaches about the Frogs. And she was like, yeah, I used to love that band, but because they really she's black and they played with racist sort of tropes. But she sort of felt like it was a social criticism. But as she got older, she started to go like, wow, it actually made me uncomfortable on a level like how like playing with racism and deconstructing racism and still trying to mitigate the negative effects of racism is like, it's a very murky territory to play in.
Yeah, who's that? I think he's Irish, New York comedian. Maybe he's Boston, but I think New Yorker.
Colin Quinn.
Yeah. And he had a whole thing about all the different neighborhoods. And it's kind of like cultural appropriation in a funny way. Like if you grew up in a neighborhood and you're a lower income Italian next to Irish, next to Jewish, next to Black, whatever the setup is. And you're all kind of on the equal playing field in the schoolyard where you're all kind of like roughing it in your own ways. And because of the differences, you end up joking with one another. And some of it sounds super racist. But if it's kind of like in a if you're all kind of in the same zone, kind of the way a Black community could use words that we couldn't use. Do you know what I mean? It's like if you're all in that. So I think that that's kind of like can be charming and actually funny and fun, but it just has to be the right kind of thing.
And part of the idea, I guess, of using humor is that you are neutering something and disempowering it. And I remember thinking about this a lot, like around this period of Vice and the Frogs and all this, and thinking about how, wow, making humor out of racism is kind of like making a joke of it. And in a way, that might be one of the more powerful ways to, kind of suck the energy out of it.
Yeah.
But it's weird. This Gavin McInnes thing is, it does kind of make you think, like, as a strategy, that was less noble.
Sorry for the shaking. I'm sitting side saddle on this stool for some reason, so I'm.
Do you need to move back a little bit?
Well, I just
don't do that, because that's going to shake.
I'm going to stay still.
Wow, that's
bold. I know. Well, I can't fit my leg under.
But then there was that stuff. There was the Gavin McInnes side of it, but he was only one of the founders, and that's sort of an early part of the documentary, right? But then there was Shane Smith, who was the guy who had the vision of sort of, he's like P.T. Barnum-esque, and he wanted to take Vice into basically being like the next Disney, like basically a major media news conglomerate. And that was really interesting because it brought up a lot of questions about the way we relate to counterculture and to scaling counterculture.
Yeah.
Like everyone wants to like play bigger venues and and like Mac DeMarco recently, they did a profile in the New Yorker, and he made a statement about this saying, like, I do not want my career to get bigger. He's like, there is so much pressure to make it bigger, and I'm against that. And it made me think how this story with Vice and Shane Smith, and he's like, at all costs wanting the company to get bigger, more money. It maybe that is a recipe for self-destruction of creativity.
Yeah, it was a study on how, like, also the kind of addiction to failing or gambling or being, I don't know. It's one of those stories where you're like, why didn't you get out when you got this offer? And there was this kind of recklessness and almost, like a boldness and an addiction to kind of like power and gambling in a weird way. Yeah, it's funny. Some artists, I don't think it's a blanket rule. Like some artists, like Cyndi Lauper played really big places. And then I think the other night she just played this, Hollywood Bowl. And these are bigger venues, and she probably played really big venues. And I don't know, it's like some bands, it's like, I think, and musicians like, okay, that's good. But I can absolutely see, like, for example, we throw really good parties. We can get really great people together. So we have that Vice kind of magic touch where we can bring people together. But scaling that in a bigger way, I don't think would work. Like, you know what I mean? Like if a corporation said, we're doing a T-Mobile party, will you make it cool? Have good people and this and that. I think, sure, you can bring in as much as you can, but it's still going to feel like Instagram pictures or whatever the hell people do, like it's still going to feel corporate.
I don't think it's about that things can't get big, because success happens organically.
Oh yeah, like think of The Dead, that thing when it was having its heyday with the community of the Deadheads.
Or like Catch My Disease.
Do you know Chloe Sevigny's doing a documentary on Dead? Really? I mean, a film maybe, or documentary, Dead and Company. I think it's about the Grateful Dead.
Dead and Company is what they call the John Mayer version.
I think she's doing a documentary. Okay. Isn't that weird?
Huh, that's weird. Yeah, I knew that Jonah Hill was playing Jerry Garcia in the Scorsese movie.
Yeah, I was just got a surprise, which is a lovely surprise because Chloe Sevigny has always been, like interesting with her choices and like surprising and new. And I wouldn't have paired Deadhead to her, but I love that.
Surprising and new, that comes from a musical or something. Something surprising and new. What is that?
We're The Love Boat.
Oh, The Love Boat. Yeah. But wait, one thing I wanted to say was with success. Whoa, what is that? This is the perils of potting at home.
I find that's the washing machine. No, that's the dishwasher. I find
Hang on, I'm going to stop the dishwasher. You
I
keep
found
talking.
the sound, not on a podcast, but in general, the sound of appliances very comforting. Like a dryer. I don't know. It's just like life's functioning. You can afford a dryer. I don't know. It makes me feel like domestic comfort.
I hear that. Hang on, I want to finish this thought, though.
No, of course. No, let's talk about appliances.
So when we think about success, bigness is fine. Things get big. That's great. I think
things get big. That's what he said.
Sounds like my wedding night. I think the particular trajectory we're talking about with Vice is about the bottomless ambition and the quest for things to always get bigger. That's the thing that it's almost like a mob movie that inevitably is going to bring something down.
You're just like, get out now.
Yeah. Walk away. And I think that is more what Mac DeMarco is talking about.
Yeah.
And more what Eddie Huang is talking about in this documentary, that like it was this insatiable need for more success. But so you
think if we scaled bigger and went corporate with like whatever it's called when you are like do branding at corporate things, it wouldn't.
I don't think it's black and white. I think bigger sometimes is totally appropriate.
Yeah,
like
that's what I said. Just so you know, we're fighting now. But I was saying
but you just said, do I think it would ruin it?
No, I was saying sometimes it's really good. I was saying
let me answer
Cyndi
your question.
Lauper.
You asked me.
I was just asking about if you scale a party, literally like.
I know, but I'm answering that.
Okay.
I'm answering that. I'm saying I don't think there's a rule to it. I think bigger can be natural. But if you allow your feeling of success to be entirely defined by constantly having to get bigger, that's where the problem is. Some corporatization of like what we do, I don't innately have a problem with at all. Like I'd like to do more like we're talking about doing some collaborations more with small businesses.
Yeah.
But some corporatization of this type of creativity to me actually feels really healthy.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because we can support other businesses and they can support us.
And some music festivals get big and they stay kind of great.
Yeah, totally. But if they have to keep getting bigger, it's a problem.
And they were Lollapalooza and then they become lots of losers.
Lots of losers. But speaking of getting bigger, we have to talk about pop music's greatest supervillain, Taylor Swift. Yes, she's getting married. Well, are you excited she's getting married? Do you care?
I'm like Larry David. I'm just sort of like Larry David when asked said,
I don't give a shit.
I mean, I don't really sure, I want everyone to be happy in the world, I suppose, except for supervillain politicians. But except I would want them to be happy because I think they'd make better choices, possibly, if they were happy. In any case, I'm not against, I think I like her for my daughters liking her music, as a parent. And then some songs are amazing and I love them as pop songs. I never believed her politics. Like I was so happy though if she was like, when she was kind of like pro women's rights. Gay rights. And when she was like not into Trump, I'm like, that's great because she has such a big following and I believe in that side of things. But it was sort of like sus because I'm a city dweller where I have a prejudice. And I think that often people who are from the South or certain places.
Nashville is a city.
That's true. Yeah. But I lump in.
That's an extreme prejudice.
I know. I lump in country with white.
Country music.
Country white with more of a, conservative view. Sure. So
country music has traditionally been more conservative.
Yeah. So I was sort of like happily surprised if she was for gay rights or whatever. But now people are saying otherwise, or what's happening?
Well, I mean, look. Taylor Swift, to me, is most interesting as a CEO. I see her as probably the greatest American CEO of this century.
Yeah, I love women doing well, of course, because the older I get, the more I'm like, wow, women, I can't believe how they're treated.
Yeah, but it's not necessarily about her work as an artist. It's about being up there with Warren Buffett, Jeff Bezos and Steve Jobs. Like I see
It's a
her as
little
like,
much.
well, I see
But
her
I
as
mean-
like she's a very very successful
Sure.
capitalist.
And
I
if
mean,
there's going to
amazing.
be capitalists, at least some of them could be women.
But she did pull off the single greatest rock and roll swindle of all time, which was in her quest to buy her masters back. She convinced her fans that it was a battle that somehow was for their benefit, which owning your masters is a purely financial...
Why would it be for their benefit?
Well, she convinced that basically it's like she has a totally parasocial relationship with her audience. And because she wanted them to own your masters is purely financial. Like, as most indie artists I know, there are some masters they own, there are others they don't.
But
they
wait, did
license
she
them.
re-record all of them?
She re-recorded them, but re-recording your masters as a financial tool was not a new thing. I did that. I learned that from your dad, Donovan. Your dad re-recorded some of his masters to license them now so that he could own the masters and not be paying based on record deals he did in the 60s.
Wait, can I ask you a
Yeah.
question? So say you re-record your masters 20 years later and your voice is different. Your fans are going to hear a difference.
Well, mostly you try and replicate them pretty exactly.
of course,
like
but
your
you
dad
might
did
not
it
be able
pretty-
to.
Most people can do it. Most people can do it. You can tap into the way you sounded. I mean, unless you've had like vocal damage or
Like,
something
yeah,
like
some
that.
people do.
Yeah, but most artists, if they're still performing...
If you do it before you're like 80.
Sure. We'll
I'm
add
just
that
saying.
caveat.
So was she trying to convince them because they would say they would have demoitis where they would be attached to the old? Because a true fan might recognize a difference.
No, but her play, and this was her...
So was she, what I'm asking is, was she, sorry, I'm so aggressive. Was she jumping ahead in, like, was she doing damage control by saying, this is good for you?
Yes.
So that they wouldn't, this is my question, say, well, we don't want a new version. Answer
She-
yes or no.
Yes, she sold her audience the idea that they were helping her fight an important battle.
Because they might.
Let me just finish my
Okay,
sentence.
say it.
She sold her audience the idea that they were on the right side of history by streaming the new versions of her recordings as opposed to the old ones. She turned her fans into activists by playing the new versions rather than the old versions. All that happens with that is she makes more money off
But
those.
because they might put up a fight and say, we want the old versions.
I
or
don't even think
no.
anyone would even think about it. Like when people go to Spotify
But
and they
why
put in
would
a song.
why would she try to convince, all I'm saying is, why would you try to convince someone of something if there wasn't a sort of fear that maybe they might put up a fight?
It's not fear, it's greed. The greed is she wants more income. She wanted her masters to be worth
Sure,
more.
but why did she
than
have
the-
to tell people about it at all? Like maybe they wouldn't have noticed.
No, you would notice. If you
Okay.
go on Spotify and there's two albums that have the same cover and you're like, which
Sure.
one?
So you're
So she called
saying-
them all Taylor's version.
Okay,
the new ones.
okay.
So she made it seem like
And
an act of empowerment.
and do you see my question?
Yeah, but I just don't think it's as big a part of it as you do.
Okay, but then what is your point? Is
My point is that she had a personal business gripe and she turned it into a cause
so
for her
maybe
audience.
I need to know the motivation.
Make more money.
Okay, so but the motivation for including the fans in
They
it.
are the ones streaming it. That's the ones that add
So
value.
they could have had so you're saying they could have chose the old ones.
There was no need for them to passionately not just accept new
So
versions.
she's just hyping it up so they don't choose the old ones.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, that makes sense.
And that's fine. That's fine. We all do that
No,
when we put
I'm
out
just
a
saying
record.
the motivation makes sense. I'm not talking about what's right or wrong at this moment. I just like need to know her motivation.
No, but I am sort of talking about what's right or wrong.
I know you are, but I need to
saying
know the
that-
motivation
I'm
as
saying
well.
that for her to turn wanting to make more money, to be able to convince millions of people that it was somehow in their benefit to help her make more money,
right.
is her entire business model.
Sure.
And that's why she is an evil genius. And I give full respect to her.
Okay, I get it.
I say this with total respect. This type of business mind comes along once a generation.
Right.
She is Unbelievable.
Well, yeah, there's a difference with like, say you're pushing a beauty product.
Yeah.
You'll say, yes, you push a lifestyle, like aspirational, like if you wear this, you're more like Kim Kardashian or Gwyneth. But if you believe in it, you're like, this will help you. This will help you. So there's a little more of a, sure, you're selling your snake oil, whatever, but you're also saying this skin serum will help you.
Yes.
Whether it will or won't. Whereas she's saying this will help you when actually it's not really helping.
No,
them.
that's the thing. Prince tried this.
So that's different.
Prince tried this
That's
in the
the
90s.
difference. I get it.
He said, I'm a slave, helping me be liberated, freeing myself from the major label system is good for you. No one believed it. Everyone was like, he wants out of his record deal.
It's more like transparent if you're doing like a GoFundMe, because you're like, this isn't helping you other than you're just being a good person.
Right, totally.
So it's more transparent. Like GoFundMe if you care about this cause, but you're not saying GoFundMe because this is good for you.
Exactly. So the brilliance of her capitalism was she got
making
her customers.
People believe. Got it.
She got her customers to feel like it was a cause.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Which is like super interesting.
All right. Yeah.
Anyway,
Sorry,
so there's going to be this big wedding. So how lovely for her. Yeah.
I mean,
anyway.
I don't really. I mean, it's like, I don't know why. Like, I guess I don't know. It's like, part of me is like, oh, great, maybe she'll have a baby. That's a wonderful experience. But it's also like, I don't know, like I'm not, I mean, I don't want any, I want her to be happy.
Okay, well, let me ask you this. As someone who you did, this is this generation's Princess Diana, right?
Okay.
So you felt investment in the arc of Princess Diana's life. Do you remember her wedding to Prince Charles? Mm-hmm. How did you take that on culturally?
It was fascinating because she was already like this, I don't know, she was sort of she's fragile clearly, but at that time she was still aristocratic. So it wasn't like, it's interesting the Meghan Markle thing because she's so kind of disliked. But it's like privileged people getting more privileged.
But it's also a parasocial relationship where like people that watched that wedding were happy for her.
Yeah.
It's a thing where they got to experience, it's an escapism.
Yeah. I guess it's like, it's, not my Roderick. Oh, but I feel so bad for the new Roderick. That was a sad thing.
I think there's more Rodericks since then, isn't there? Yeah.
Yeah, that was a harsh.
Deep Diary of a Wimpy Kid
Oh my
lore.
God. They recast this character and everyone was really upset. In any case, she's not really my Roderick. I mean, I don't wish anything. Anyway, I'm like kind of
No, but I'm just saying,
sure.
Can you empathize from the part of you that did have that fascination with Princess Diana?
Well, are they upset that she's marrying a footy baller, or they're happy?
At the core level, a
football
parasocial relationship is her fans are weeping tears of joy that she's finally.
Well, I'm curious how her songs will go because so many of them were about being dissed. So now she can't write about being dissed,
totally.
Except in her career. She does have that great song about Cruel, which wasn't mean, which wasn't about a love interest. It was about some publicist or something.
Yeah, totally.
So maybe she can still write angry songs, but not about lovers.
Totally. Do you think there's an element? I was listening to Tim Dillon's podcast, who's, I wouldn't recommend it. He's a very, angry libertarian guy, but anyway, but he is funny. But he said to him, there's an element of like with these types of media and social moments that they truly do serve the purpose the way when we were in the Philippines. They talked about part of the Marcos's strategy of keeping them in power was fireworks shows every night, and that celebrity events are sort of the modern equivalent of those things. Like they allow people to feel you don't have aspirational things available to you anymore, but be happy for other people who do.
I don't know what you mean, but
meaning that
I know it's like a distraction.
As life gets harder for people. That
it's like lifestyles of the rich and famous.
Exactly.
Sure. Yeah. I like escapism.
Yeah. Fair. I saw a new band the other night at the Midnight Special, which is a venue that is closing down soon. Oh, by the way, Midnight Special DM me and they said, we are beautiful babies, by the way.
Oh, fabulous.
So shout out to Midnight Special.
Wait, can I ask?
Yeah.
I know there's a song, let the midnight special shine its light on me. Let the midnight special shine its light. And I only know that song from the Twilight Zone, the movie, because I feel like there was an amazing scene with like Dan Aykroyd and every beautiful baby who might know the scene, the other comedian. And they're singing that Midnight Special song. So I wonder, was that at like a country club? Do you know what the Midnight Special is referring to?
You mean in the original song?
Sure.
I feel like this is a question for AI. What is the song The Midnight Special referring to? Let's see what Claude has to say. It's a traditional American folk song, refers to a train, specifically the night passenger train that would pass by various prisons, particularly in the American South. The song became deeply associated with prison and work song traditions. So it has deep roots in African American folk tradition and sung by prisoners and chain gangs as a work song. Yeah.
That's
powerful.
Fierce, tight. What do the kids say?
So Lead Belly popularized it, I guess, his version. He learned it during his time in prison and helped bring it to wider audiences.
That's
so
pretty amazing. So I'm curious if this Midnight Special is a reference to that Midnight Special.
Yeah, maybe.
There were a lot of prisoners harking back to some of the immigrants, the white ones, the white immigrants.
Yeah, in Enmore. Yeah.
I don't know, prisons that are now art schools.
There you go.
Anyway, yeah, so you saw this band. It was great.
The Vors. And Davor, the singer and guitar player in the band, I've known him since back in the day in Bondi in the 90s. He's a brother of a friend. And it's amazing what struck me about this band. They were really good. It was like tight, explosive Aussie punk, but really catchy. And, you know, I'd say everyone in the band is in their 50s. And they've just started this band together. And it was interesting that when I first heard about it, some of my own ageism kind of came up, that I was like, oh, it's not going to be good. Guys in their 50s starting a band. Like I'm picturing like dads playing Wilco covers or something. But it was really, really good. And it made me think, and I was actually talking to Davor's wife, Carla, and we were saying that like things have to change culturally. Like remember a few years ago, Amy Taylor was talking about Triple J need to be more supportive, particularly of women as they get older, because it's hard enough in the Australian music industry for women, but aging is tough. And it just made me realize that like, wow, I'm an older musician who still wants my music and my career to be taken with a degree of like curiosity or seriousness or the potential of real vitality, but I wasn't offering that to one of my peers, and it blew me away. I absolutely loved it. They're going to put out a record on Wally Meany's record, who's a great, music industry legend from Melbourne, and I was psyched about it.
That's
it was
so
really
cool.
He sent me the album. I'm going to listen to it this week.
What a cool last name, Meany.
Yeah, it's not his real name. He was from a band called the Meanies. His real name's Wally Kempton.
That's
and then he was the bass player in the
also
Meanies.
nice.
It was like
Meanies.
a Ramones type thing.
Yeah, I agree. I think that I think of like I just think of older people. Oh yeah, know what I really think about? One point when my brother and I were living in New York in the 90s, and if you don't know Beautiful Babies, we had an estranged relationship from our father, Donovan, folk legend Donovan, but he was doing a workshop in New York City, and it was sort of around this. We went to it, and it was pretty amazing. It was for people who wanted to kind of do creative things, whether they were young or old. They were having a job that wasn't in the creative category, and so and he was just kind of encouraging, and whatever the workshop was about that. So it's kind of like people just switching things up and having the inspiration and courage to do it. But at one point, my father is so comical without realizing it. He lost his voice. So he just was saying, like, people were sharing at the end of the talk that he did. And he was just saying, very brave, Very brave.
That's
And
sweet.
then he lost his voice even further, like 20 minutes later, and he just started clicking and going, and even clicking with his mouth. And someone would say, I was a plumber, and now I really want to start playing whatever, the banjo. And he'd be like that.
Amazing.
Yeah. And my brother and I were just like totally laughing, but it was really adorable. Clicking.
Click, click. Goes the camera.
Yeah.
Well, I'm all for it. I want to I don't know. I'm just so determined to not fall into. I mean, it's a mixture aging because on one hand you have to accept with grace the limitations that do come with aging, but you also have to do not go gentle into that good night.
Yeah.
Like you have to fight
Don't put on that moo-moo.
Don't put it. Don't put it on, or do put it on.
Well, I don't know. I mean, I think there's, as you get older, you're like just want to hide under a big dress.
But a man putting on a muumuu would be a fight against death.
But I do remember, I mean, I know this is a name droppy pod and that's part of our brand, but Amanda Anka, whose father was Paul Anka, there was a point where on and off you gain a little weight as you get older. And one, he wore a muumuu at one point and she was like, Dad, that's not hiding anything. Like it's sort of, you think it's helping, but it's not.
Well, it makes people imagine even worse potentially.
Yeah, I think it helps though.
Yeah. Well, hey, spicy pod.
Spicy. But meanwhile, we're working up a storm.
Oh, we are.
Which is a new phase.
We're exercising, we're eating healthy. We're determined to maintain the rigor and the intensity of younger podcasters. I think it's possible.
But we're not,
we corporatize.
We're eating healthy, but we're not boring.
No, exactly. If you want to send us a question for our mini episodes on Fridays,
please do.
weirdedtogetherpod@gmail.com.
And like and subscribe.
Yeah, I know we never ask people to do that stuff. Do all those things.
Do all the things you would do
that make a podcast more successful.
Yeah, please. And rate and review.
Yeah, do all that too. And sign up for the mailing list.
What does Tenny say? Our little friend.
What did he say? Oh, smash that subscribe button.
Smash that. This was a 5-year-old. Smash that subscribe button.
And we are very close to the Awake is the New Sleep tour starting September 25th. Tickets still available to
That's
almost all the shows.
That's going to be so friggin' fun.
Cannot wait. Thank you for tuning in. Back in the new studio, hopefully next week. We'll see you soon.
Beautiful babies.
Together we're weirder together.